Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are taking a look at combo Code Talkers. This is a deck that I really enjoy. Code Talkers are just sweet. They just play in such a particular way that they're so interesting to me. And we're going to be doing this deck profile a little bit differently than usual. We're not going to be going normally like the way we do, but we're going to break it up specifically so it makes more sense based around Signet Codec. This card is the heart and soul of the deck. So I think when you look at the deck, you need to kind of be thinking how all the monsters work based around how this card works. So we'll start with that, and then we'll go from there. Hopefully it'll make more sense, especially if you do not know a ton about the deck just yet, and it'll give you a good scope of how the deck really wants to play and how you should be building the deck if you're looking for a more combo-oriented build. But yeah, let's get into it. So the best way to start with this deck profile, in my opinion, is to kind of go over Signet Codec. This is the heart and soul of the deck. You are aiming to get to this card if you can. You have essentially 9 plus, no, I guess technically like 12 ways to get access to this, if I'm not missing something. Yeah, I think there's at least 12 ways to get access to this. You need every combo to go through this because this card is like a +5 for you. It's absolutely insane. Just basic stuff here. This card pretty much just says, if a Code Talker monster is special summoned from the extra deck to your field, you can target one of those monsters, then add a Cyberse monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand. It does lock you into Cyberse from the rest of the deck, and also you cannot add other monsters with that same attribute to your hand for the rest of this turn by a codec effect. So one attribute, we're playing 5 of the 6 attributes in this deck. So you're looking at, obviously, your earth, your light, or I'm sorry, your dark, your light, your earth, your fire, your wind, and another dark, just in case. That does come up sometimes to search off of the access code summon. It really does come up. But yeah, other than that, let's just get right into this thing. We got a bunch of stuff to blow through here just to make sure we're all on the same page. And yeah. So we're going to break it down in that fashion. I think the attributes is going to be the best way to look at this. So if we're looking at Signet Codec, let's start with our light targets. Starting off here, you have the triple Lady Debug, the 1 4-month skipper, the 1 Sigma, and the 1 Cyberse converter. So long story short, most of the time you're searching extenders off of the Cyberse codec, or Signet codec, but sometimes you actually do play nifty plays with like inverted, where inverted can summon a Code Talker from hand. So you could summon inverted, search a light, and summon it immediately. So something like 4-month skipper or debug, depending on the combo. Other than that, you're searching extenders like Sigma or Cyberse converter. I like Sigma because it makes it something like a Signet mining allow you to play through getting your normal summon removed from the field. It's very particular hands, but I still like having this card in the deck just for those very particular scenarios to help kind of wiggle out of them, be able to play through. But other than that, Converter is really good. I would always play Converter over Backup Secretary because Secretary is not a level 2 or lower, whereas Converter is. So there are certain lines with like Talkback Lancer where that can straight up save your Heine. Other than that, 4-month skipper searching you a level 7 or level 5 or higher monster, really good. And then debug obviously is the single like best monster to open in the deck. This plus codec is a really, really powerful combo. So you gotta love it. Moving on from there, we move to the Dark Monsters, which is just 2 copies of Nightmare Corruptor Ibli and 3 copies of Microcoder. 100%, guys, if you want, you can opt to play the 3rd copy of Ibli. I just think sometimes you can run into clunky hands where you just draw too many normal summons, so I was trying to stay away from that right now. Like, we have 2 of this, plus the 3 debug and 4-month skipper, and that's not even including stuff like Dotscaper. So you could argue that there's technically, like, 7 normal summons in the deck already, and that would be playing an 8th one. So I kind of want to stay away from those clunky hands. 2 is still like feels really consistent, but feel free to bump it up if you want to. Microcoder obviously being one of the best starters in the deck as well, letting you link up into Code Talkers as well as searching you a Signet spell or trap. If you already have access to codec, then this is getting you to your Signet conflict, a really powerful interruption, and then Ibli letting you like chain block stuff like Microcoder and just beat Ash Blossom, as well as making you impervious to Nibiru early on in combos. Super, super, super important. So there you go. Those are the darks. Moving on to the Earths, we have 1 copy of Code Genera. I know that looks weird. 1 copy of Dotscaper. Thank you for printing these in holo, by the way, Konami. You are the best. I love you. The 1 Gachiriad Ignister, very important card for the combos, and 2 copies of Link Slayer. So Generator's insane, but you really only want him as an extender, a searchable extender. The extra copies of him just don't end up being that important. Like hard opening him is fine, but like this deck plays so many extenders. Why play multiple of him when there are other extenders you can hard open when like you're already searching this card as a generic part of your combo anyway? Like you can get this off of your transcode search with Codec, and then Gachiri you get off a format skipper. Like it's not like if you don't get this, you get this. You get them both in the same combo with different searches. So I think 1-in-1 is perfect. Also, Dotscaper, if you open it, there's plenty of ways to like get him into grave to trigger him again. So not a problem at all. Inverted, pulling him out of the hand. Firewall, pulling him out of the hand, discarding him for Signet Mining, whatever it is, pretty good. And then Link Slayer, I have to sing praises to this card. I would probably side a third copy of this for when you play against decks that do end on back row scenarios, because it's just an amazing extender that also baits through back row, which is really, really huge. So I don't know, like it's just really clean, especially when you have 6 cards in hand. Like without normal summoning, you put a fairly threatening like 2k body on the field and discard to like at least bait 1 or 2 back rows. It can be absolutely huge. Something like Sword Soul, being able to wipe the blackout before you even really commit your normal summon is really important. So from that point, we move to the wins. We have double copies of Parallel Exceed and 1 copy of Code Exporter. Some people haven't been messing with Exporter as much in the combo builds, and I kind of get it, because like the deck is really mainly designed to just kind of go first, set up an insane board, and just kind of win the duel on the spot. But sometimes you do end up in slightly grindier duels, and for that reason, I like playing the Exporter to give you a way to like guarantee follow-up. And if you open Parallel Exceed, you still want a win search. So I wanted a secondary win search, and this just feels infinitely better than Link In for Flyer at this point. So I like it. And there. Exceed's insane though. There are some builds that play 3, but that's mainly builds that play Small World, but we'll talk about that when we get a little bit later on. And then I think the last attribute we have here in the main is actually our fires, which I play 1 copy of Mathmech Edition and 1 copy of D-Grade Buster. This is one of the main differences with older builds, and by older I mean like a couple weeks ago here. So before, people were playing Shooting Code Talker because, to be honest, the water extenders are just downright better than the fire extenders generally. But I just think Heat Soul is so much infinitely better than Shooting Code that I think it makes up for the fact that the water extenders are slightly better than the fires, but they're still pretty decent all in all. Addition being the main simple extender. I thought about also playing a Subtraction just cuz, but D-Grade Buster was another interesting option. And if you do play Small World, I don't have it here, but I'm considering playing it. This guy becomes your best bridge. The reason people were playing triple Parallel Exceed is because Parallel Exceed was an awesome bridge, but this guy, even cleaner of a bridge. And he also just comes up. He's searchable off Format Skipper. He's searchable off of Codec on the Heat Soul summon. And he's a big body that applies like extra pressure offensively in the battle phase, but also has like an okay interruption effect in the right matchup to be able to check certain boss monsters. So that definitely can come up. Something like Despia, keeping like the Mirror Jade at bay, can actually be pretty relevant. So I like him for sure. All right. From there, we move into our monster hand traps. So pretty simple here. Triple Ash Blossom, triple Effect Veiler, and double Ghost Bell. I'll be honest, this would probably be 3-3-2 or 3-3 and like drop this for something else. I don't have droplets, so that's another card that like feels like a staple in the format. Very expensive card, so I don't blame you if you don't want to, if you can't have access to that right now. So I'm trying to play the best hand traps in the format, Ghost Bell and Ash. And because Heat Soul's in the deck, we have free draws that go on throughout our combo. And so because of that, I like the idea of potentially just being able to add another interruption to the board by ripping one of these, or a Called by the Grave, or Conflict in a combo where we didn't end up searching it. That can really, really come up. Other than that, like, feel free to mess around. I think Chalice is another interesting option. Helps you play into boards, you know, and beat interruptions. Because the deck's good at playing through interruptions. You just need cards that kind of let you play into them. So maybe you could drop Veiler for Droplet, or Chalice or something. Maybe drop, like, you could either drop this for 3 Chalice or do, like, 1, the 3rd Ghost Bell, and then 2 Chalice or something. I think that could be something spicy there that I'd mess around with. If you can't do Droplet. But obviously if you can do Droplet, it just feels like the best option overall. But yeah, that's it for all the monsters in the main. Moving into the spells, I play triple Signet Mining. This shouldn't be much of a surprise to anyone. Signet Mining is like the best consistency spell in the deck. And then triple codec for the Signet spells. One other thing, of course, is where I should mention Small World. A lot of builds have been playing Small World lately because it can pretty much search any monster in the deck because this deck just plays all cybers, but then they're like, most of them are all different types and all different levels and all different stats. It's very easy to get to pretty much any cybers monster you want with a Small World. Definitely something I've considered. I'm at 41 in the main right now. I honestly wouldn't even hate the idea of just going up to 44 and just dropping it in as another consistency piece. I just love the idea of being able to have another 3 of that's getting me to any of them. I don't care that it's technically a -1 because this card's 2 and 3 card combos are so crazy insane and beat interruption really easily that I don't care if I have to go -1 to pretty much like go +7 or whatever it is. It's like crazy. And then Codec. We talked about Codec at the beginning. Card's the best card in the deck. It's not even close. Extra spells, Monster Reborn. It's just such a generic, awesome spell. Like I said before, getting your normal summon removed from the field super early can actually just cause your turn to end no matter how many extenders you have in the hand sometimes. So I like having access to something like Reborn to be able to potentially just beat that outright as a Saki 1-of. Double, triple tactics talents. Again, another card that if I had Droplet, I'd probably just play Droplet over talents. But all in all, like, there's a lot of hand traps in the format right now. This deck beats hand traps really easily. So this card being able to rip another card and see what kind of board I should be setting up versus my opponent, as well as being able to just draw 2 or steal a card from my opponent, depending on the situation. This card can be huge. So still a good card. I haven't regretted it yet. And the last spells, 1 Called by the Grave and 1 Sanctuary, called by just that Saki 1-of, beat a hand trap. One rare occasion that is kind of scary is the fact that Ogre has seen a little more play in the last couple months. So I definitely don't want to just get Ogred on Codec in a weird hand where I kind of need the Codec to resolve early to play. Same thing with Transcode. If you Ogre Transcode, he does not summon because he needs to summon to a zone he points to. So being able to protect plays like that can actually be super, super clutch. And then Sanctuary, this is literally the only brick in the deck. You literally go through the entire deck, and this is the only brick in the entire deck, which is awesome. I love that. But here's the idea. You give your opponent Ibli. Ibli can just walk into your Link monsters if she wants to, but this card says in the battle phase, if your Link monster battles, you make your Link monster 0. 2 monsters with 0 attack cannot destroy each other, so it pretty much takes away the possibility from your opponent just taking Ibli into one of your Links and crashing. So yeah. And the last card is 1 Signet Conflict. You play this for when you already have access to Codec and you get into your Coder. You just use Coder to grab Conflict and end on an extra really powerful negation. So that's it for the main. Like I said, 41 total. I honestly don't hate the idea of just saying, you know what, screw it. 3 more Small Worlds in there and let's keep it moving. I'd also maybe consider playing a Mathmech Subtraction in addition to the addition. But because if you open him, you do want to have another searchable extender because sometimes Degrade Buster doesn't work in that role the way the combo works. You need a level 4 or lower. So maybe having 2 of these would make it so like hard opening it would make it a little bit nicer there. Other than that, maybe the 3rd Link Slayer because that card comes up so clutch. But like I said, maybe just side the 3rd because it's not only an extender for you, but also it's a card that lets you like beat getting your normal summon, beat and handle back row decks really nicely. It's really good. All right, then we move to the extra deck. And I will tell you, I don't love the look of this extra deck. It's pretty cringe to me, actually, but everything is there that should be there. And we'll leave it at that. So starting off with our Link ones, we have double copies of Salamangreat Banelinks. This card searches you the Sanctuary super easily and points down to help you get the co-link finished. 1 copy of Talkback Lancer. This card's also part of the combo. Tributing a monster to reborn any Code Talker engrave. Comes up all the time. 1 Link Devotee, also part of the combo. This is kind of like a newer development. This card wasn't always part of the combos, but tributing it with Lancer is insane because you tribute it and then it gets you 2 more materials. It allows you to just amass a ton of materials right at the end of the combo so that you can guarantee the co-link on your Tri-Gate Wizard. And 1 Secure Gardena. This is just simply a Link 1 that points to the right. So that way you can get the co-link on the Tri-Gate. 1 Lingaribo. This lets you play into back row decks, and when you have a really extra powerful hand, you get to throw one more monster on the field and add a Lingeribo Trap Negate to your board. Helps you beat evenly matched, helps you beat infinite impermanence, and stuff like that. And also decks like Eldritch, which are really good in the meta as well, help you play into them as a combo deck. And make this super early can be really important. But yeah, it's a lot of Link 1s. I don't love how many Link 1s you play, because it does kind of keep you from being able to play enough cards to like grind in the extra deck, but you kind of need them for the combo, because the turn 1 combo is just so powerful. For the Link 2s, I only play 3. 1 Splash Mage, 1 Code Talker, 1 Inverted. These are mostly just absolute includes for the combo. I'd love to play a second Splash Mage. I'd love to play a second Transcode, but to be honest, you just don't have space if you're going to play the full Extra Link plus Transcode combo that ends on like a double bounce with Firewall. They get the Ibly, and you have a Tri-Gate Wizard Negate, and their co-link, or they're extra linked, so they can't go into, they can't like summon, pretty much. They're just kind of screwed. I don't know. Like, it's really tough, because if your board ever does get broken, it feels really bad, but it just doesn't happen that often. But still, in my eyes, being a control player, I love the idea of being able to grind. But the way you build this deck right now, you just can't really afford the slots unless you really just say, you know what, screw the Tri-Gate Wizard play. We can go for the same co-link, just not rely on Tri-Gate Wizard, and then you can drop a bunch of stuff from your extra and play a more grindy game, but that depends. I might have to look at that a little later on. But yeah, for the Link 3s, 1 Transcode, have to play it. 1 Heat Soul. Like I talked about earlier, the water extenders for the Code Talkers are just down. The Cyber's water extenders are better than the Fire ones as an overall whole. But Heat Soul is just so awesome, and Shooting Code is not. Shooting Code doesn't do anything. Also play the X code. This gets you the wins, and then Tri-Gate for that. The only other thing with Heat Soul that I really like is that if you just get hand trapped out the wazoo, or maybe you open a slightly weaker hand, and maybe you still get hand trapped once or twice and can still at least get to a Splash Mage or something, you can just walk into a Heat Soul, go draw a card, pass turn, draw again. We're playing 8 hand traps in the deck, so like you have a decent little shot of like, and if you're bricking anyway, you might just have a hand trap. So you just have a way to like, 1, draw a bunch of cards so you can grind, play on the next turn, or 2, you're just drawing like hand traps that you can slow your opponent down even if your combo gets stopped. That's the idea, at least. It doesn't happen that often because the deck's just so good at playing through interruption. X-Code's fine, just adds protection, and then Tri-Gate, obviously. Getting that negate set up is huge, because the board is really good, even if you don't play Tri-Gate, but that extra negation just feels so important. And then for the Link 4s, 1 Access Code and 1 Firewall. Super standard here. This is your defensive option for interruption, and this is how you kill your opponent on the next turn. Very easily. Also, it still triggers Codec, which is hilarious. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the extra. It's pretty much it for the whole profile. The deck's really, really crazy. There's multiple videos on like the standard combo. Pretty much the standard combo ends you on like the standard full combo, I should say. I think ends you on Firewall here. I think this is X code. Need to do talk. I'm trying to think about it backwards, which is really weird. But the full combo kind of ends on like this, and then you'd have Codec still in the spell or in the face up spell and trap zone, and you'd have like Sanctuary over here as well. So this is like essentially what you're looking at for like the full combo. You've got the double Firewall bounce, the 1 Omni Negate with Tri-Gate Wizard, and a banish on the following turn. You have Sanctuary, so your opponent, I didn't do that. Your opponent has an Ibly, so they can't special summon unless it's a Link summon. But of course you play Firewall, so if they have to go normal summon, you just bounce the normal summon a lot of the time, and they'll just pass. And you've got Lingeribo to negate like evenly or impermanent to your board, and you've got protection on Firewall with like the Gachiri Adagnister, so it's just unaffected. You've got destruction protection with X code. Everything's buffed. It's honestly so crazy. This end board is so insane. Long story short. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of where to go. Obviously you can look up, there's plenty of videos you can find online on this combo pretty much. Just look for the most recent ones. And it'll show you this combo. It's like a 2.5 card combo. It's like access to Codec, any of your like decent, or a card that gives you access to Ibly, and then any extender. So it's pretty generic, it's pretty easy, and if you also play Small World, it makes it even easier for you to open that combination of cards. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it for today, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on the build. If you think there's any other adjustments I should make to the build, Small World or anything else, included. I'd definitely be curious to hear your thoughts. I really like this deck. It is obviously way heavier combo than I tend to like to play, but this deck just combos in such a very particular way that it is still interesting to me, because like no other deck combos quite like this one. And I really like that. So I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you have not yet and you want to see more stuff from your boy down the line. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.